Welcome to a Stretch for the Mind, a series where we combine the physical and the mental side of performance by going through some mobility flows, some stretches, and discussing a key topic in performance or sport psychology. Today, we're going to talk about reflecting on your performances and doing that in a way that helps you move forward regardless of how the performance went. What we're going to start with is coming into a tabletop position. You're going to push your belly button towards the ground, and what you're going to do is bring your hip towards your shoulder, look over your shoulder at your hip, and then switch to the other side. So we're going to move through that a few times on each side. Often when we perform, we don't spend enough time reflecting. We win and we think, that's great, good job, move on. We lose and we think, oh, that was terrible, let's not think about that again. But there's a lot to be learned from both of these situations. And by digging a little deeper and looking at it holistically, we can learn from the wins, we can build our confidence, and we can continue to make progress. And we can see that the losses maybe are not all doom and gloom. There are some things that were good. There are some things we can take from it, and then we can move forward in a more effective way. All right, next we're going to go into the world's greatest stretch. You're going to bring one foot up beside your hand. If you feel good, you can take your back knee off the ground and hold it in this position while you bring your elbow towards the ground and rotate up to the ceiling. If you prefer, you can drop that back knee down and just focus on the movement of the upper body in this position. So to reflect on our performance, there's 3 questions that we are going to ask. The first question is, what went well? So we're going to start by focusing on the positives, regardless as to how badly you think you played. There is still gonna be things that went well. We're gonna dig deep. We can think maybe it's in the preparation, maybe it's a specific shot like your serve or your kill, maybe your movement, maybe how you stayed composed, maybe how you spoke to the referee. It can be anything. It might be your game management, taking timeouts, might be staying composed despite frustration. We're gonna swap sides. It's easy when things go well to think about what went well. But when things don't go well, it is just as important to take time and think what went well in this performance. Just moving through that on the opposite side, which I did not mention, we swapped sides. Then once we identify 3 things that went well, the second question we're going to ask ourselves is, what's worth improving? And before we get into that, we're going to switch our stretch. So what we're going to do now is bring one hand out in front, and we're just going to lean down into that and then come back up. So we're kind of pulsing into that movement. So our second question, what's worth improving? You'll notice that we're not just asking what went bad. We're not trying to identify problems. We're actually taking a moment. We're taking a more growth mindset approach. So what is actually worth spending time on? The word improving is also more positive, more optimistic than what went bad. We can see, okay, that's how it went today, and I can still improve. So this can be true whether it went well or poorly. Switching sides. The word worth is also important because here I want you to just pick 2 things worth improving. So it's not like, okay, here's a list of 5 things that I can improve. It's what's worth spending time on going into my next performance. For example, maybe there was one shot that popped up in that game and I haven't really practiced it. But that shot rarely pops up. What would be worth my time is practicing my serve more often. So we actually need to think, what is worth my time and effort? And we're going to make note of them. sit up. We'll come back to our center position. We're going to extend our leg and we're going to move our leg out to the side and back behind us. Keeping everything nice and dynamic today. Then the last question, once we've thought about what's worth improving, we're going to think, how will I improve this? So it's well and good to think, okay, here's 2 things that I can improve. It's worth improving. But unless we think, how will I improve this? Then there's not much point in going into that. And we're going to switch sides, bring it to the side as far as you can. I'm a little bit restricted for space here, so I'm just going to focus on that small movement. So for example, if I identified my serve as what's worth improving, I'm going to say, okay, 3 times a week, I'm going to spend 20 minutes focusing on my power serve or my lob serve or whatever that serve is. So I'm making it specific for myself. Sometimes we won't always need to put more time into what we're doing. It might be a case of next time I simply need to remind myself that I want to fly the ball more. What we're going to do is come into a puppy pose. So hips are up high, but we're bringing our chest towards the ground while hands are outstretched. And then you're going to let yourself come back into a child's pose. We'll hold it there for a moment and we'll walk our way out to a puppy pose again. And we'll keep moving between those 2. What I want you to do is take a moment and think about your most recent performance, whether that's a training game or a competitive game, and think, what went well? So take a moment and think, what went well in my most recent performance? And now I want you to think, what's worth improving? Even if it's just one thing that's worth improving for next time, what would that be? And the last question is, how will I improve that? What is one action I can take to improve that? We're going to hold it in a child's pose for a moment and sit with those questions. Like I said, you can think about your training games, competitive games. It's just as important to reflect after training games because we can learn a lot. Competition comes around less frequently, so if we're not reflecting and learning on our training games, we're really missing out on a lot of opportunities to reflect and to learn. When it comes to reflection, it is such an important part of growing, learning about yourself, in general and as a player, and it's going to allow you to be even more effective long term. It's going to allow you to go with the flow, to see the ups and downs, to see that there is always going to be ups and downs, and that can make it easier to handle those and to move forward when we are going through those experiences.